Check. Yeah. Check. You better check yourself or you wreck yourself, cause I'm bad for your health.
Welcome back to the Why So Serious podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. Rashanee's with me again, and we're here for another movie review. And today we're back to review Happy Death Day to You, the sequel to Happy Death Day. Tree Gilbin discovers that dying over and over was surprisingly easier than the dangers that lie ahead. Happy Death Day was a surprisingly good film to me last year. I was not expecting much. I really, really liked that film. And the sequel, to me, was still very good. Rashanii, what'd you think?
You know what? I have to credit MoviePass for me liking Happy Death Day, because without it, I would have never went to see it. It was one of those things where I had the MoviePass and Happy Death Day was showing, so I went in there and had a blast. And I really am surprised by how much I liked Happy Death Day to You. Like it had every opportunity to be a rehash of its original movie. And it was surprising the avenues and the direction that they took it in. Plus, Tree is a surprisingly competent actress. She did a really good job.
She's too good for this film.
Mm-hmm. It was hilarious.
And also, they kind of turned it sci-fi. Like they kind of went from horror to sci-fi film. And did you stay for the after credit scene?
Yes.
And so the after credit scene is basically going full sci-fi, which is interesting. So, so basically they start this film off with my man, what's my man's name? Ryan. So he was in the first movie. He was Carter's roommate. And basically he's going through the loop again. And so you think, oh, okay, they're gonna basically do the film from somebody else's perspective because she passed the loop on to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you find out that Ryan was working on some science project and it fucked up the space-time continuum, which was causing days to loop over, and he ended up trying to fix it, but he ended up fucking it up more and putting Tree right back in the goddamn loop. But not only was she in the loop, but she was in the alternate universe of the loop. So they basically created a multiverse with a science project in this fucking Happy Death Day universe, which is incredible when you think about this film and how it started. And so you get the whole thing with her reliving that same day, the 18th. But in this universe, her mother's still alive, and Carter's with her asshole roommate. By the way, her roommate Danielle is like bad in every universe. She's horrible. She's the constant. That she's, if you go to any universe, Danielle's gonna be trash, which I thought was fucking funny as hell to me. But what did you think about their idea of bringing sci-fi into this kind of 90s slasher, teen slasher film and actually making it into somewhat of a sci-fi horror mix?
I'm glad that they did that, because when they first showed the previews, and they kept that a secret. Like, you thought that it was going to be Ryan for a second, and you thought that they were going to have the dude with the mask following him through the game or whatever, and then it was going to be the same type of slasher film. So when they did their first big reveal, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay. And then you see first of all, expectations. Like, beliefs and expectations and stereotypes. You think Ryan is just some nitwit, like some stoner or something like that, and then you come to find out he's like a fucking physics major who's built like a quantum titanium ball that like opens up different multiverses and all that kind of stuff. And they're talking openly about all these geek things. They're talking about Back to the Future 2, and this movie was just wonderful. It was, and I'm glad that they went in the direction of sci-fi, because I could only go through them running through a empty, undeveloped hospital floor so many times, where I was like, okay, I'm sick of this shit. Like, first of all, why do you keep running away downstairs, away from all the other people in the area? Like, why do you run away from where there's a crowd to go to an isolated area? But I thought that this movie had the potential to be a car accident. I thought it was just going to be I love the first one, so I'm going to watch this one
Yep.
because I want to support the first one. I want to support the director making a sequel to what honestly was a surprise hit. And I walked out of here nodding my head like that was my wife, and I walked out of that movie like that was really good. That was a really good, um, just Saturday night movie. Um, Go with the loved one, go with somebody you're gonna laugh. You might have a couple jumps, but more than anything else, it was really just impressive to me how much this turned into a full-on sci-fi movie. Like how they were able to make that switch so seamlessly from a horror. Like the first 10 minutes of the movie, first 15 minutes of the movie is a straight horror movie, and then they just transition into this sci-fi, and I thought it was done flawlessly.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I like how they turned it on his face, and they even turned Tree into something you weren't expecting because she basically became like a multiverse, alternate universe genius by the end of the film
Mm-hmm.
because she had basically the plot was they had to fix whatever the quantum thing that Ryan built. But at the end of the day, everything gets wiped over. So basically, the only person who remember anything is Tree. So she basically had to memorize like everything involved with this device, and had to keep doing trial after trial and killing herself after killing herself. And by the way, the ways they had her kill herself in this film were hilarious. My favorite one was when she was fucking
I already
mad
know.
at fucking Carter and Danielle, so she jumps out of a plane in a fucking
Mm-hmm.
bathing suit and just splats right in front of him.
While
That's
flipping them off in slow motion.
while flipping them off. That shit was so good. Oh man, I really enjoyed how they came up with those different things for her to die. But they could basically turn her from just being like the pretty dumb blonde. In the first film, she was a horrible person until the end of the film. Like she
Mm-hmm.
was really a bad person. And in this film, you can tell that like she's learned from her shit, but she's also like not about this fucking loop again. Like she was not here for that fucking loop. That shit was fucking hilarious. But I like how the interesting ways how they had her die, and they still kept the comedy in this film that was in the first film, but also let you know that there's some stakes because one of the decisions that she has to make when they figure out how to fix the quantum device is he basically tells her like you can either stay in this universe or you can go back to your original one, and so she has to decide. And in this universe, Carter's in love with Danielle, so she
Mm-hmm.
basically has to decide: do I stay in this universe where my mother is still alive, but I don't have Carter, or do I go back to the universe where Carter is, but my mother's still dead? And I love how they added stakes to her choice, so that you really don't know what decision she's going. I mean, you kind of know, but they do a good job of making you think she's not going to make the decision that she makes.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about? Excuse me, sorry. What do you think about how they count that separate universe was and how they kind of flipped up the story with like her roommate not being the killer, her roommate's the one that was fucking the doctor and the wife. I actually got this one quicker than last one. So like in the first one, I didn't get the sister really till the end. I mean the roommate till the end. That was who it was. But in this one, I knew it was the doctor, like pretty quickly. Did you kind of figure out who the killer was?
Yes, I did, and it was also due to the fact that they just kept showing him
Mm-hmm.
like all over the place. They would show him, and it's like there's no need to have him and her arguing because they didn't allude to the fact they were a couple. They just had them standing to the side arguing, so they were they're together, and just all these. I don't know. It was pretty. It was pretty evident to me that um, he was involved, but the surprise to me was that the wife was involved. So that was the thing that took me by surprise a little bit. By and large, the who done it, yeah, that got peeped out early. It was just now I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the rest of this world that is rotating around this who done it. Because I got that out the way.
Right. So, do you think? I think they can have like a full-on franchise with this, like even more than just a trilogy. Like if they keep,
Especially since
yeah,
what happened in the bonus scene.
yeah. So why don't you tell people what happened in that bonus scene?
In the bonus scene, they find out that the machine that they built was actually taken by the government, and the government is now using the machine, but they don't know how to make it work because they don't know the correct formula to make it work, which Tree knows perfectly because she memorized it through tons of, shall we say, trial and error. So she's like, "Yo, I got the formula for this, and I know the perfect test subject for you to test it out on. Because if it doesn't work, bad things will happen. Blah blah blah." And so she chooses Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle is now living the same day over and over again, which would have made a great sequel on its own.
That
I
sounds
think,
incredible.
right? I think it would be great to see Danielle in a situation where it's more of a just romantic comedy or something like that, where she's living the same day over and over again. And I think it would be hilarious if Tree is still in the movie and knows that she's going through the same day over and over again, and so she's literally just fucking with her.
I can also see them turning this into one of those things where it's like, of course, the government uses this for the wrong reasons, and so Ryan and Tree and Carter, they basically got are on this like mission to stop them from doing whatever the fuck they were doing, reliving the day over and over again. So
Hmm.
they can go a lot of different ways with this, which is very, very interesting. Given the fact that this all started as basically like Groundhog Day meets Scream. Like that's how this started in last year, and it turned into like this really cool, funny film that you're kind of not expecting it to do what it does. Now, so if you were to rate this one against the original, how would you do that? Which one did you like better?
I mean, I actually like the second one better because I felt like it was more adventurous in the storyline and the risks that it took. The first one was a slasher movie. It was a slasher movie, like you said, that met Groundhog Day. This one actually had to explain the story of the first one, and it had to go off in a different path that wasn't too reminiscent of the first one. And what I will say is, it's better if you saw the first one before you see the second one.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they don't give you any what. Well, she does give you a recap, but still, it's better. It's fucking better.
You need to see the
So
first one. Absolutely.
yeah.
I like the first one. I think the first one had a more direct and cohesive story in the sense that it was very, because it wasn't trying to balance a bunch of different things. It was very straightforward. Whereas this one, bringing in the sci-fi and doing the twist with Ryan and stuff, kind of veers off a little bit. But it wasn't anything serious. Like it was still a very good story. It was very understandable. Anybody who it doesn't take a complicated person to understand this movie. Any film goer who likes this type of any type of comedy slash fake horror slash sci-fi, like any the average film goer can go watch this movie. You don't have to be into horror. You don't have to be into sci-fi. You don't have to be into any of that. You can just want to go to an enjoyable film, and you will enjoy this film, 100%.
Hmm.
Um, Anything else you got about this film, Rashani?
Actually, I really like the supporting cast in this film. I thought they were all really, really interesting, as opposed to other movies that I saw recently, in which I can't remember any of the supporting cast at all. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave credit to um, Happy Death Day to You for really fleshing out literally every supporting character, with the exception of the doctor's wife, who was fleshed out in the first movie. So
Yeah,
you already
Carter.
knew what was going on with her.
Carter was fleshed out. Ryan was fleshed out to an
The mom
extent.
was fleshed out.
Oh, Demont. Oh, see, here's another thing. We watched The Leader, and we already reviewed that. That's on the feed. You can go listen to that review. but we talked about how none of the emotional scenes hit in that film. When you watch those scenes with Tree and her mother in this film, for a comedy film,
Years.
those films hit. Those moments hit because Jessica Rothe
Mm-hmm.
was acting in those films. Like you could in
Mm-hmm.
that scenes, you could see the dilemma that she's going. Like the first scene where she's like, oh, I gotta go meet my dad," and her mom is sitting there, and she realizes she's in a different universe. You feel it like and she just runs and hugs her mother like you feel that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I can say I was not expecting from this film is to see the acting scenes and to see the loving scenes with her mom. And it's basically this is this, and this still is a love story as well. It came out on Valentine's Day, and it was absolutely a love story.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a love story romance film on top of a horror slasher film, on top of a sci-fi film, on top of a comedy film, and all that may seem like a bunch of jumbled up bullshit, but it's actually like jambalaya. It's a bunch of
Exactly.
shit that comes together and it tastes really good.
Exactly.
So what would you give out of 10 Happy Death Day to you?
7.5.
Yeah, this is an 8 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I gave the first film to me was an 8. This was just it was an 8. I don't know. I don't think a film like this can be a 10, which is not an insult to this film. It's just not that type of film.
Yeah.
So it's good. I don't think you can make a better version of these films than they've done the first two films. This is about as good as you can do with this type of genre and this type of film that you're trying to tell. So it's great. Go see it. It's well worth your money anytime. Morning, day, night, Movie Pass, Cinema, nothing. Go see this film when it comes out. If you haven't seen it and it comes out on Apple TV or Vudu, rent it. You and your significant other will like it. You and your friends could watch it. You could just chill and watch it one day. Like it's a really good film. Watch this
Mm-hmm.
film. It's very good. Anything else you got, Rashanii, before we get out of here?
Um. Again, Danielle was such a piece of shit in every single world she was in. Even in the world where she was actually trying to be nice, where it seemed like she was actively actually trying to be nice. Everything she said was so shitty. And it still felt like she was setting up Ben?
And then she was fucking the dumb boy.
Yeah. he was dumb as rocks.
He was so
That
stupid.
movie was excellent.
Yeah, that's an excellent movie. Make sure you go follow Rashanii on Twitter at Rashanii. Make sure you subscribe to the Single Simulcast and go to singlesimulcast.com to see all his other shows that he's been working on and subscribe to all of those too. And thank you guys for listening. We're going to be back with more movie reviews later this month and this week, so make sure you check those out and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we'll talk to you later.